Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Our today's lecture is on the topic nutrition intervention with the individuals. So the first is influences on food choice. So there are many factors that interplay to influence the foods individuals choose besides a basic physiological need to eat. So factors act on three levels: the individual, the societal, and the national and international level. The public health professionals working at the national and international levels will be working primarily on the wider policy level. Means general the government have generally the government used to work on this food choice and the foods influences is regarded by certain policies which the government issue. So they will need to be fully aware of these wider influences on the food choice of a particular person. The health professional working at the local level are able to influence some of the individual and societal or community influences on the food choice, such as your legislation and subsidies and taxes, world trade agreements, the and also the government policy production method and agricultural policies, advertising, and some plus global public health policy, which is issued by your WHO, FAO, and UNICEF, and certain global economic bodies. So what happened? These could be during one-to-one consultations with the patient and when developing appropriate public health nutrition program. It is this could be during the health professional workings at the local level are able to, as I told, able to influence some of the individuals and societal community influences on the food choice. So it is not just what is eaten that is important, but understanding why and in what context it is eaten is crucial in helping people eat more healthily. So health professionals working locally will also need to have a wider vision of the international context of the public health nutrition to be able to promote the health, as there are conventions and international agreements that have an impact on regional and local level. So what happens during this? Generally, what food we eat, it depends on the particular choice, individual and societal community influences on the food choice. So, food intake, such as the economic factors affected, that could deal with the income and affordable food. The knowledge skill also helps in to choose the food, such as the educational level, the food nutrition knowledge and cooking skills also affect what type of food you choose for the intake purpose. It also influences by your physiological and biological activities, such as your depends upon your appetite, and also depends on your age, gender, and hunger and satiety and post ingestive absorption effects, hormones, allergies. Another food another type of is your cultural and social. It is also one of the factor that influences the food choice which you select. Under this, it comes your ritual and symbolism, your social status of the food, your religion, and peer group, family tradition, and also depends upon your meal pattern, habits, convenience, social norms, conventionally, and social class, culinary traditions. So these are also some of the factors that influence one of the food choice of your individual, societal, and also affects at international and national level. Some also there is a factor fruit properties also. So what type of food you are taking is of which quality, and depends upon their food qualities, temperature, and food nutritional and long term health aspects. Also, the physical and chemical properties of that particular food that you are taking. Cooking, it depends upon that cooking method, also acceptability, food safety, freshness. So these are certain uh, factors which comes under the food properties, which also influence the property or influence the choice of the food chosen by the individuals. Depends upon the physical environment also. In this regard, you can take the geographical urban, whether the food is urban or rural areas. Food availability means it is present nearby your home, shop, or not. Access to shop or transport, media, advertising, marketing, season depends upon the season that some of the foods are seasonal. Storage and cooking facilities, eating environment. Sensory is also a factor that influence the choice, such as whether it is palatable, odor. Its odor depends, and some of the foods we do not like the odor, or some we find it so delicious. Flavor also enhances the also influences the food choice. Digest, texture, appearance, that comes under the sensory factor, which influence the one of the food choice chosen by a person. The physiological factor also affects the influence on food choice, that is deals with the attitude and belief, the body image, weight, preference, ethical morals, or risk perception, personality. So these are the factors that influence the food choice of a person when he is choosing a particular food to eat. Okay, next is your nutrition education technique. So here we have to develop a effective nutrition education message. So nutrition education is a component of for promoting a healthier eating, and is the process of applying a scientific knowledge about the diet and health to a individual's dietary behavior to improve a healthy literacy. That is the nutrition and health related knowledge consists of the attitude, your motivation, behavior, intention, person's skill, and self efficacy. So it is a nutritional education that we provide. So nutrition education messages are most effective if they are in clear words, simple, and avoiding technical jargons. uh, it is also be effective when the use of foods rather than nutrients to communicate, consistent with other source, personally relevant to the audience. It is also effective when sensitive to how consumers perceive the risk of unhealthy eating. Also positive, that is eat more fruit, rather than negative, that eat less fat. Emphasize the benefits of change, acknowledge barriers to change, and also avoid messages that stigmatize the individuals and use persuasions, prompts, and reminders. So, in this regard, when this message is developed, when this nutritional education is given to someone, it depends upon the talk and group of work of nutrition education, that where to start. First topic is from where to start when you give certain education on nutrition or message to anyone. So for that, think of what you expect your audience to be able to do or to know before attending your session of educational message on nutrition. Then think of them after they have attended it. What should they know, be able to do as the result of that? Means that is comes under your learning outcome. Means once you have delivered the particular message, then also you have to think that whether they have undergone through all the facts you have told or not, or what will they act on. The key word is do. So include active verbs when drafting learning outcomes. So learning outcomes should be measurable, usually about 5 to 10 outcomes are sufficient. Then it comes, then next for this practice is Why do we need learning outcomes? In order to, it helps the audience learn more effectively as they know what the goal are. When you give some nutritional message, you should be clear with your goal so that it could be easily understood by the audience who are receiving your nutritional education message. So, to make it clear what the audience can hope to gain from the attending a particular teaching session, and outcomes also come to help the practitioner to design the material for more effectively by acting as a template for them. So what happens? How are learning outcome structures? So it depends upon the knowledge and your comprehensions, your applications, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So knowledge is generally recalling appropriate previously learned information, understanding the meaning, and also uh, your message should be clear, cut, and in simple words that could be easily understood by the audience. Next is your designing nutritional education material. So first is your readability. So designing nutritional and education material is when writing a diet sheet or a report or a patient notes, a practitioner is intent on transmitting information to the reader. How well the practitioner succeed will depend on the several factors, including the readability of the text. So first is your readability. Readability is concerned with the problem of matching between the readers and the text. There is often a large discrepancy between the readability and the average patient reading ability. So, an accomplished reader is likely to be bored by simple repetitive text. So, when you write certain diet chart for a patient or for a particular individual, you should not repeat the same word again and again. That could be should be in simple words, and you should keep in mind that whenever any individual stranger is reading that, they should not get bored of your boring material. So a poor reader will be soon become discouraged by the text that he or she find too difficult to read fluently. So you should not use too hard word in your text, or to not to you repeat certain words again and again. So a typical readability index uses an average sentence length and average number of words of 3 to 4 syllables per sample used. And tests do not account for the orders of the word in the sentence. A suitable diet sheet patient inform needs to match the reading age of the general public, that is the average of 11 years. So certain content that when you design or when you prepare a diet sheet, so you should be clear in regards with the content that certain I'm telling about certain checklist for evaluating the quality of educational material for patient and the general public. So in that terms, in terms of content, the content should be clear, should have a clear description of the purpose and structure of the text. There should be headings present, and if so are they, if they are headings, so they could should be in appropriate manner. There should be facts correct, and um, knowledge should be up to date, means current knowledge should be printed on that, should be written on your sheet, and facts also should be up to date, means currently. And yes, the evidence, if you are giving certain evidence, then that for that evidence the quality and strength should also be discussed, and it should be appropriate. Or if you are giving certain diet, then if it is related with the certain government policy, then it also be predicted in that sheet. Your sheet should contain that our nutrition message clear, unambiguous, and consistent throughout, and any statement about nutrition placed within the context of healthy lifestyle and based on the balance of a good health should be there. So these are the materials, these are the content that should be depicted on your diet chart when you are preparing for a person, for a patient. So it should be readable and appropriate for a particular person. Next is communication skill and behavior change on a one-to-one level. In this regard, the practitioner uses their communication skills to inform, educate, and facilitate the motivation in others by enabling patients to make informed choice about food and lifestyle. The practitioner need to draw a repertoire of helping skills that enables them to encourage behavior changes. So there are number of theoretical models underpinning this way of working, but essentially it is based on a person-centered model where practitioners and patient agree the plan of action. So a number of specific skills, there are essential practitioner characteristics where a number of specific skills and qualities need to be practiced to improve the practitioner's ability to listen, respond, and reflect empathetically. It includes your unconditional acceptance, accept which means that practitioner should accepting and respecting the patient and not judging it. So this is called the unconditional acceptance. Next is congruence. Congruence is genuine, being sincere and not defensive. Third one is empathy. Empathy means understanding a patient personal meaning. Fourth one is questioning style. Opening questioning style means it deals with when you open a question, when you question a patient or a person, that it include what, how, where, and when. And if it is a closed question, then it invite a monosyllabic response such as yes or no. So for this, you have to keep in mind that you should avoid why question, as because as patient become can become defensive. So it should be encourage patient to talk in more depth. The question should be means when you are questioning, when you are open questioning style, so it should be encouraging. It should be in that manner that it helps the patient keep the control rather than the helper. So hard to establish empathy can be useful for clarifying the information, and the dietitian helper retains controller over the interview. Next is your good listening skill. So appropriate use of active versus and passive listening should be there. And also the second last is your non-verbal communication. So awareness of the effect of non-verbal communication means means patient posture, gesture, appearance, voice, eye contact, and facial expression should also known by the practitioner when he is uh, preparing, when he is giving the nutritional knowledge to that person. Last one is right to decide. So, right to decide recognize that the patient has right to decide if he or she has to change behavior or not. So, a client-centered approach to given to more control to the patient rather than the practitioner build on the patient expertise about him or herself. Next is your value of counseling skill for motivating dietary change. So it helps to establish a current scenario. It explores preferred situation and sets appropriate goal with the patient. It provides a supportive relationship that may improve adherence to the dietary change. Fourth one is encourages the patient to be more empowered and to make appropriate choices. Fifth one is help patient to explore their feelings about changing their eating behavior and assist the patient in the selection of problem solving strategies to encourage of dietary change. So these all are the value of counseling skill for motivating a dietary change. Means when you counsel a person, you counsel a patient, your counseling uh, should focus on these points that may patient may find it helpful in planning their dietary change. Next is your skills for behavior change. So various models of health behavior have been developed that make an important contribution to understanding the dietary behavior. So health behavior model conceptualize the social cognitive variables important in determining behavior. Such models focuses on the idea that the attitude a person hold can influence their dietary behavior. They acknowledge that dietary knowledge alone is not necessary enough to lead the behavior change. They have to take into account whether the individual are fatalistic about their health, that is the locus of their control, whether they are focused for their dietary change or not, whether individual feels able to confident or change certain aspect of health behavior. It also account for the value individual place on their health, how he or she feel health as a whole, and also focuses on the stages in which the individuals can be placed in relation to their health behavior. That is comes your stage of change. This is very important stage of change. Let me clear what is the stage of change. So stage of change is one of the model that is widely used to understand health related behavior change in a trans-theoretical model of change. So this model regards individual as traversing through five phases. Here is the five phases: your pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. So movement through these stages is not necessarily linear. Individuals may relapse to earlier stages several times, but this does not necessarily mean that they are starting at the beginning. The practitioner role is to facilitate a natural process of change, the matching the support given to the stage where the patient is. So it is often difficult to pinpoint which stage a person is in, and indeed they can move from stage to stage during the course of an interview, whereas other may get stuck in a particular stage. Therefore the model should only be used as a guide. So if we talk about the stages and associated practitioner role, the first is your pre-contemplation. This is the I told the stage consists of five phases. In that regard, the first stage is pre-contemplation, which deals with not interested in change, or deals with who are not interested in change or in denial or immune to their health problems. So in this regard, what the practitioner do, they elect open discussion to access low the current situation is perceived, and to highlight health risk about their unhealthy behavior to encourage the possibility of change. After that, the next phase is contemplation, where the patient ambivalent or thinking about is being changed in this category. In this, the practitioner role is to help the patient wake up wake up and pros and cons of changing and comparing with those for not changing. So in this, the practitioner tells about how what are the advantage, pros and cons, means advantage and disadvantage of changing and comparison, making the comparison so that they could go for thinking of change. Third phase is your preparation. preparing for change in this. So, practitioner do is to support in developing their action plan for change and suggest or give educational material to their patient for and making them to prepare for go for the change. Fourth phase is deals with your action, that is the actively modifying habit or environment. So here the practitioner generally helping the patient to set the clear and realistic goals that includes the reward and praise action taken by the patient. Means if there is a requirement, if certain patient is going for the activity is in active form or change is in changing form, so if he or she gets some uh, appreciation or some praising words by the practitioner, so he or she get motivated and do a better work in future. Last one is your maintenance. Maintenance means sustaining new healthier habit and preventing relapses. So here the practitioner reassure the patient that occasional lapses are normal, so that they are not so discouraged that they give up. The most patient will go through the stages of changes several times before changes become established. Now the question arises, how do you know which stage a patient is in? So here the assignment of individual to one of the stages may be done intuitively during the discussion with the patient, or more formally by asking a limited number of mutually exclusive questions and applying a basic algorithm. Such as questions may be arises that whether they want to, for example, I'm taking whether you want to go for a diet plan or not, or if you want to have a weight loss or not. So these types of questions may be asked during this session. It is important that assignment of individual to a particular stage does not get in a way of helping process. So the focus should be on the interpersonal relationship. For example, a decision balance. Okay. The next is motivational motivational interviewing. So motivational interviewing is a client-centered directive method for enhancing intrinsic motivation to change by exploring and resolving ambivalence. It is not just a set of technique but relies heavily on good reflective listening skill. Under this comes your decision balance. So decision balance is used a tool to enhance the motivation to change. So thinking through the advantage and disadvantage of both changing and not making a change is on way to help the patient make sure that they have fully considered a possible change. It will help the patient to make sure they have considered the possible change. They can help them to stick with their plan in a stressful, tempting moment. Patient could be asked to reflect on, for example, the pros and cons of making changes to lose weight, as I told in the previous slide. So, one patient's pros and cons of making changes to lose weight, the practitioner should give the advantage and disadvantage of benefits and cons of changing. So benefits of pros of making changes is they can feel better about themselves, more confident, fit into all those clothes hanging in the wardrobe, save money as will be eating less, help control to blood pressure, not having to change routine in the family and certain. So these types of benefits, if you tell to your patient, they could be helpful and they could get motivation from your counseling and from your discussion while interviewing. So once you have decided to change, you can go for a planning change. Okay, once a patient has made the decision to change, a change plan can be constructed according to that with the help of practitioner. So for example, uh, change plan for a patient, I'm taking the loss of weight, wanting to lose weight. So for that, the change I want to make are should be listed in that plan. List specific areas on or ways in which you want to change, that include your positive goals, that beginning, increasing, improving behavior. For example, have a healthy snack mid afternoon, so that they could eat less food when return from home from work. So this could be planned. And the most important reason why I want to make these changes are, these are the diet plan that could be made by the practitioner with the help of could be made by the patient, for the patient with the help of practitioner. So in this way you can plan out for change. Once you have decided that you have to work on your body, you have to work on your health, you could go for the change in your body with the help of the practitioner by certain diet plan. Thank you for being with us. For more information, please log on to our website www.itlsacademy.com and register yourself. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn. And yes, do not forget to subscribe our channel ITLS Academy at YouTube. Thank you.